Well, the Survivor 42 premiere is only a month away, for better or for worse, and the cast reveal happened. Now, obviously, anybody that watched any of my Survivor 41 videos or coverage knows that it didn't leave the most positive taste in my mouth. And I honestly don't expect this season to either, because I feel like it's going to be more of the same from the last season, because we're getting a lot of the same twists. I can hope that they at least tweak some of these a lot, but I don't know if that's the case, or if they could even tweak them enough to make them good twists. I doubt it. I don't want to see Smash the Glass and we go back to the past again. I just don't. But yeah, we had the cast reveal, and I'm going to try. This is going to be my first reaction. I'm going to read their bios right now, and you're going to see my first reaction to this cast. I am doing the Entertainment Weekly website's little bios. So we are starting with Jonathan Young, obviously fit. So maybe he will be a comp threat in some of the comps, but who knows. He is a beach service company owner. Whoop-de-doo. Working out, spearfishing, and surfing are his biggest hobbies. Ugh, he's already sounding too much like a bro for me. His pet peeve is wearing shirts. Oh boy, I feel like this dude is casted on Survivor just so he could get casted as a shitty contestant on a shitty season of the challenge on MTV. That's what this guy is sounding like right now. He broke the Guinness World Record for most pull-ups with 100 pounds on my back. So he is fit. I won't take that away from him. His hero is Lex Luger. He is a man of God, my physical and spiritual mentor through some of the hardest times of my life. Is he talking about the wrestler Lex Luger? I'm assuming that's the only Lex Luger that I know of. Well, interesting. He almost went up cool points because he was a wrestling fan until I remembered wrestling fans aren't cool. Which past Survivor will you play the game with, like Ozzy? I think we talked about on last season's podcast how people are always saying their favorite players are Ozzy or Poverty or some Joe, some combination of that. Yeah, I don't know. Jonathan Young's a little too basic bro for me in his bio, but maybe he'll grow on me. It's not looking great, though. Up next is Sharon. She's 47, from Michigan. Well, I already know who Mike is going to pick if we have a draft. Mike is going to pick the older woman from Michigan. That's... Spoiler alert! Mike is going to draft Maria. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but 3 words to describe you: spicy, smart, loving. I do like that she's talking about she's learned lessons from mistakes. I mean, I don't know how well that will really come out in the game of Survivor, but I feel like it can make a person, adaptable. If you learn from your mistakes in this game, well, you have to learn from these mistakes early enough to adapt to the game, though, is kind of a problem. But maybe she'll be able to do that. Which past Survivor players will you play the game most like? Ironically, a mix between Angelina and Toni. After Angelina's turbulent first few weeks, she slipped under the radar and made it to the end. Toni brought an upbeat, funny, and light energy. By the time he was recognized as a threat, it was too late. I mean, I can't see her not being a threat off the bat. We saw that in the last season where the older players, well, some of the older players, didn't come off as threats. I mean, I guess I'm mostly thinking about Tiffany and Shan, even though both were threats, but they didn't come off as threats right away. She says her greatest asset is her emotional intelligence and ability to accurately read people. She says her game will be easy to argue at the final 3. I believe being likable and smart and savvy pays off in the end and secures the vote. I mean, I like her, honestly. You all know, or anybody that's watched some of my videos would maybe know, that I like social players. They don't always win, but if they make the end, they have the best chance of winning, in my opinion. So if she can make the end, she has a good chance of winning, but will she make the end? I don't know. We're going to move on to Romeo Escobar, who's 37, from Los Angeles. Well, he currently lives in Los Angeles. He is a pageant coach. His pet peeve, he says, I am a bit impatient, so I would say slow people, laziness, and people who don't know how to read the room. I don't know. You can't really be impatient on Survivor. I don't think. But there's always a bunch of go-getters on Survivor too sometimes. So if he's on the right team, that'll help him. But if he's on the wrong team, that could make him an outcast. What is the accomplishment you're most proud of? Several. I always dreamed of working in the industry, so I am. I dreamed of owning my own pageant. Well, that's nice. He's very competitive, he's saying. He says, because I am a small man and gay and Latino, people always underestimate me. I love proving them wrong. I hate losing or being wrong. I always want to have the right answer and win everything. I mean, I like that he's competitive, but that can hurt a person in the long run. I feel like if you're all game, you can really be screwed after that first fumble. He could be one of those players that play too hard, too fast. Past Survivor players he will play the game most like, he says. I don't think anyone has played a game like the one I will play, but I do want to achieve great Survivor historical moments like Sandra, Suri, Parvati, Rupert, Rob. I want to be remembered. Well, I think he can be. It seems like he's going to have a big personality. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I know I can be the final survivor because I am likable enough and persuasive enough to convince people to vote for me. I always find a way to get what I want. He's an interesting one, Romeo. I don't know. I feel like he has a lot of potential, but he also has a lot of potential to crash and burn. But that was the reason that I picked Erica in last season, because I felt like she had a lot of upside, but could crash and burn. And she never crashed and burned, and we didn't get to see a lot of her game to know a lot of her game, but she ended up winning. So Romeo's an interesting one for me. I'm going to have to see, I hope I remember if we do a draft, to see which tribe Romeo is on and if I think he will fit in enough or not. Because I think that's going to dictate his game, is what tribe he is on to go with his personality. Up next is Toni Meehan. She is a therapist. Her favorite hobbies are CrossFit, playing board games, spending time with family. So she likes games, and she's fit. She says 3 words to describe her is quirky, warm, and self-aware. Pet peeves: when people lack self-awareness, are emotionally reactive, immature, or petty. Well, if she's on a tribe with Romeo, that might be bad news for one of them. What is the accomplishment you are proud of? I graduated 100% debt-free from my undergraduate degree and paid for 50% of my master's degree by competing in pageants and earning... we got more pageant people. What is something we would never know from looking at you? She says, when I first met you... Well, people always say this about her. When I first met you, I thought you were going to be a mean girl, but now that I know you, that's not the case. So people tend to stereotype her as a basic white bitch, is what I'm getting from this. Like, she's a mean girl. Her hero is... Oh, Lord. She says, it would be so cheesy to say Jesus, but I did not want to use the question to explain the importance of my faith. Well, we have our religious player of the season. Sharon was a big player, as, you know, being a pastor. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? 100% Kim Spradlin. Doubtful. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? This is a long answer. I am the total package, she says. I am a strong social player because of my background in counseling and psychology, so I understand human behavior. I genuinely care about people and know how to connect on a deeper personal level. I am an animal when it comes to anything physical because of my strength, grit, and unrelenting determination. I have studied the game of Survivor, so I know what strategy will work in the game. I come off as a very sweet, trustworthy person, but people have no idea what I'm capable of. It's kind of a lot. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see her play. Not liking some of her answers. I do agree with her though. As a therapist, I can see her like getting along with people on a social level. She's another one like Romeo. I need to see what team she's on because she could either fit in very well with the team, or she's not gonna fit in very well with the team at all. Up next is Jackson Fox, who's 48 from Pasadena, Texas. Current residence is Houston. He likes puzzles. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? Elaine. Biscuit all the way. She was hardworking, competent, resilient, and played a hell of a mind game. You couldn't not like her. I legit had to look up Elaine because I couldn't remember who the hell that was. I knew it was a recent season because haven't liked the more recent seasons. I don't know if that's a good answer. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I believe it will be mentally, physically, and emotionally and socially the hardest thing I have ever tend to do. It will break me down and challenge every aspect of my being, but I know I'm a survivor. Yeah, well, so far he's my least favorite answer. I don't like the answers to his questions. Doesn't really give me a lot to work with to assess him on first impression. He's also an older player. Don't know if I like his chances to win. That's all I'm going to say. We're moving on to Chanel Howell. She's hometown is Connecticut and currently lives in New York. She's an executive recruiter. She describes herself as cunning, competitive, and cultured. Her pet peeve is slow walkers. It's the New Yorker in me. What is the accomplishment you're most proud of? Utilizing my recruiting skills to create a mentorship program to help young women get into professional spaces. She works with women. Maybe she will work well with women. I think women in these games sometimes need to do that. What is something we would never know from looking at you? She's good at crunching numbers in my head. She's giving me Q vibes because Q hates slow walkers and she's likes crunching numbers in her head or assessing things in her head. Who is your hero and why? My parents. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? Another person saying Kim Spradlin, who played a perfect game. It's hard to come into a game and say you're going to play a perfect game. That's giving a little too high expectations for yourself. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I am truly a student of the game. I've watched all the seasons. I've studied the greats and I've learned the nuances. I am a subject matter expert in Survivor. Aside from having the tool belt to win, my motivations will push me through the cold nights and hungry days. I want to show black and brown girls that this game was made for us too. I think that does need to be shown more because Survivor is a white show and always has been. I mean, I like her, but she's giving me game bot vibes, and that can be hard for players to be a total game bot because then your social game suffers. So I need to see her social game before I can really assess her more. I like her, but I definitely need to see more on her social game because she can be a game bot and fall into a lot of traps. Omar Zahir. We got a Canadian, and the two Canadians from last season really showed out with Sharon and Erica. So he has a lot of expectations to live up to. His occupation is a veterinarian. He described himself as silly, empathetic, shameless. His pet peeve is people who complain about the cost of vet care. I don't know how I feel about that response, honestly. I know people care about their pets and want to dish out money on their pets, but let's not act like the price of vet care in some places is ridiculous. He hates rudeness, feeding seeds to parrots. He hates Joey from Friends, is one of his pet peeves. Interesting. An interesting take. He hates the fact that mini wheats have gelatin when people talk bad about pigeons and institutional racism. Okay. He is most proud that he is set his mind out to become an exotic animal specialist. What is something you would never know from looking at you? He says, people would never know the difficult childhood I had financially and emotionally. We had very little money, living off my mom's disability support. There were times where our lights were cut. No, I can relate, honestly. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? Rob Sesternino's strategic prowess. He really understood the power dynamics and when to shift the game, and also made people feel comfortable with humor. He was also able to articulate his game beautifully in confessionals. He also says Siri Fields, Tyson, Kim, Natalie Anderson. I mean, listing a lot of good players. I could actually see him playing like Rob C. He has a personality, I can tell. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? They must adapt or they will be voted out of the game. A statement that has not changed. This is a long answer, but that's honestly all I need to read. I mean, he does say, I can't wait to do the show I love so much, proud by not only winning, but being the first Indian and Muslim to do so. It would be a dream come true to see my nieces watch me win and serve as a role model. I mean, it's hard not to like this guy. I like his answers. He knows he needs to adapt, which is one of the biggest things in these games. You must adapt. You must adapt the right way or you will be voted out. It's true. I like Omar a lot. I hope he fits in and I hope he goes far, honestly. That's really what I have to say about him. Up next is Swati Goel. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, so sorry in advance. Once again, this is my literal first reactions to these players and their names and all of this. Haven't watched it until this video. She's from California. She's an Ivy League student. She's only 19. I'm assuming probably the youngest. So her 3 words are competent, charismatic, caring, pet peeves, people who have big dreams but don't work hard, people who are emotionally manipulative, or people who try to control me or tell me how to live my life. Independent player, I like it. I don't know if that's going to work with her being the youngest, but we'll see. What is something you would never know from looking at you? I am a karate black belt. Just kidding. It's jujitsu. Just kidding. Probably nothing. Okay. I am very open and honest. I don't want my insecurities to feed into other people's, so I try to be as real as possible. Okay. I don't know what to feel about that answer. Her hero is Elon Musk. Okay. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? A cross between Victoria and Chaos Cass. Victoria's blind side of Aubrey is one of my most underappreciated moves ever. One of the most underappreciated moves ever, she says. But she needed to take control of her game like Cass. True, Cass never took control of her game. It was just too chaotic. I could honestly see her from her answers, her playing chaotic. I don't know if that will work for her. Once again, I feel like her Achilles' heel could be that she is the youngest. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? Having grown up in the most competitive environment in America, I've gotten pretty good at persuading people to cheerfully act in my best interests and not theirs. Recommendation letters, winning elections, high attendance for all my events. My entire life has been highly successful exercise and persuasion. It sounds awful, but to some extent, I live every day the way Toni plays. She has a lot of potential. I hope her being the youngest, I assume the youngest, I haven't gone through all these yet, could hurt her, but I'm honestly excited to see her play. Up next is Hygiong. He is 29, hometown is Atlanta and Vietnam. Current residence is New Orleans. He's a data scientist. He likes traveling. His 3 words are aggressive, astute, and audacious. He says, I hate judgmental people. Looking down on someone for their lifestyle or choices because they're not the same choices you make is so stupid. I hate patronizing people who talk down to others. Oh, and I hate when people wear shoes in my house. Makes sense. What accomplishment are you most proud of? I am the first person in my family to go to college and graduate. I bought my first home at 24. I paid off all my student loans by 26. Big achiever. What is something we would never know from looking at you? People would never guess that I grew up in extreme poverty by looking at me now. My family and I have very comfortable lives today. Who is your hero? His mother. It is cliche, he says, and that is true. But, I mean, it's respectable. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? I want to say Parvati, but I am not that hot nor charming. I will realistically be similar to Aubrey. She was just a strategic mastermind. She understood social rankings and was able to strategize across very nuanced alliances. She was also non-threatening, similar to... Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I believe that I am a well-rounded individual with great logical sense, a strong ability to read social situations, amazing speaking abilities, and a strong desire to better my family's lives. There's no alternatives besides coming home with $1 million paycheck. Well, we'll see. I want to like him. I was hoping to like his answers more than I did. They were a little basic. I don't know enough about him to really give an assessment, to be honest, from his answers. He said a lot, but nothing at all. That can help in some conversations in these games. But can it win you the game? I don't know if it can. But we'll see. Up next is Lindsay Deitzwich. We'll say. She's from New Jersey. She's a dietitian. Her favorite hobbies are co-ed flag football, anything high intensity, adrenaline. She's another fit freak. We have a few of those so far. 3 words to describe you. Loud. Growing up, my friend's parents always described me as a loud friend. She's talkative. She has an intense personality. Well, she's giving me Tiffany vibes. Pet peeves. I hate wasted time. Anything that just eats away time drives me nuts. Well, she might be driven insane by this game because all there is time in Survivor. What is the accomplishment you are most proud of? Becoming a dietitian. Yeah. I don't know if I am even going to keep reading this accomplishment answer because it's all their greatest accomplishment is always their occupation. We get it. What is something we would never know from looking at you? She played tackle football. Well, I think her strength is going to be her physical competitions, maybe a social game too, but we'll circle back to that. Who is your hero and why? I would love to say my younger sister. She graduated college to work in environmental law. She is super passionate about saving the environment. All right. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? Lauren Beck. She's very self-aware, and I feel she does a great job of assessing everyone else's strengths and weaknesses. True. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how physically good you are at things. The social game dictates if you get voted out. This quality is the most important in my eyes. Not wrong. Social games are important. I tell people all the time. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I can definitely outwit everyone since I am very familiar with dealing with different types of people. Plus, let's be real, people are stupid. Maybe. Once you see the cracks, it gets easier to outwit. I mean, she's saying a lot. She has a game plan. She's right about a social game, and I think she could have a good social game. I'm concerned with her pet peeve is wasted time, though. And anything that just eats away time drives me nuts. I have too much pent-up energy that I need to do something. I hate slow and quiet talkers. Spit it out and speak up. I don't know. I just feel like anyone that hates time going on Survivor, I could see her just going insane and doing too much in the game. But we'll see. If she has a strong social game, she's a contender, though. Up next is Mike Turner, 58, possibly the oldest. He's from New Jersey as well, a retired firefighter. He likes working out, sports, watching great movies. His pet peeve are people ripping open cereal boxes and leaving them open, and people who are late. Well, he gives a different answer from biggest accomplishment. It's not him being a firefighter. It is raising his children. That's the first time I think I've seen that answer on this season. Something people wouldn't know from looking at him. He says he's sensitive, he cares, I get my feelings hurt, I'm smart, at least I think so. My heart hurts for the less fortunate. I love learning, I'm a straight arrow. Sensitive, emotional gameplay could be not great. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? He says, I would love to play like Boston Rob. I don't know if that strategy works to win the game, however. He didn't say that, I just said that. He says, not sure it will work out that way, but I really believe that I have all the great attributes of all the great players. Everybody thinks that. Why would you believe you can be the sole survivor? I honestly think I can be the final survivor because I possess all the attributes needed. I'll be a beast in challenges, a work in camp, yet I'll make people believe I'm not a threat until it's too late. If he can honestly go under the radar as a non-threat because he's the oldest, I like his chances to have to play the game. He needs to survive the first couple of eliminations, though, for sure. Lydia Meredith is 22 from Virginia, currently resides in Santa Monica. Occupation is a waitress. Favorite hobbies: writing / comedy, going to music festivals, roller skating, and going to the movies by myself. Pet peeve: when people waste my time. Man, these players don't like their time wasted. What is something we would never know from looking at you? I am terrified by vacuum cleaners. I can use one, but I can't be in a room when someone else is vacuuming because people always chase me with it and it scares me. Okay. Her hero is Kristen Wiig. Okay. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? I think Tom Westman. The fuck? What? I don't think she's lived enough to play like Tom Westman. She says he was honest but still a great player. Also, Sari, she is a great social player. I'll carry my own in challenges but dominate socially. Maybe a little crazy like Debbie. Time will only tell. Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it? Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I believe I could be the sole survivor because I'm likable, funny, but also wicked, smart, and strategic. I'm young but still super capable of holding my own. I'm honest but willing to make big moves that change the game. I'm ready. I mean, she sounds like a typical person in their early 20s. For better or for worse. I don't know what to expect of her in the game. I don't expect her to win. Just looking at all the rest of these players, but who knows? Maybe she will. Up next is Roxroy Bailey. He's 44 from Brooklyn. Currently resides in Las Vegas. He's a stay-at-home dad. Pet peeve are drivers who do not use their turn signal. Someone who thinks they know everything. There's a couple of those in these games that think they know everything from some of these answers I've been reading. What is the accomplishment you are most proud of? I am most proud of my family, also being the first in my immigrant family to graduate from a 4-year college. What is something we would never know from looking at you? I am an environmental scientist. I'm Jamaican. I have been to over 20 countries, and I love watching golf. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? John Cochran. I mean, some of these players are giving interesting comparisons of the games they want to play because I just can't see it. He understood his weakness the second time around and it strengthened him to compete and win. Well, Roxroy, you're going to need to find that weakness the first time around. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? Because I'll never forget what I'm playing for, my family and the money, the sum of which would be life-changing amount for my family. I mean, he's giving vibes he'll do what it takes to win. I can honestly see him as a cutthroat player that nobody would expect. I don't know why I'm getting that vibe. Up next, Jenny Kim, 43, from New York. She's a creative director. She says she's direct, open, and compassionate. Her pet peeve is arrogant people and those with a sense of entitlement. What is something we would never know from looking at you? I know how to weld and build furniture out of metal. I worked in a metal shop for a year. I'm crafty and good with my hands. Okay. She's going to build a shelter. Who is your hero and why? Her husband is her hero. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? Callie Wentworth's tenacity is definitely something I will emulate. I don't give up. Lauren Beck, because she really studied and watched people to understand their motives. I love to study human behavior. Me too, Jenny. Me too. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I have a high EQ, emotional intelligence. This means I know how to read people well and understand what they are feeling. I'm also a great listener and leader, and I know I will be able to gain trust. She's an older player, but we're seeing more older players than younger players, so I think that's working out to older players' advantages. That kind of worked for Tiffany and Shan, even though they weren't that old. I'm interested to see Jenny play. I like her answers. I think she is actually a threat to go far in this game. But like all older players, they have to survive the first few rounds. Alright, Daniel Strunk. He's from Cincinnati. He's currently in Connecticut. He's a law clerk. His pet peeves are people who are so convinced they are right that they foreclose debate. I mean, it sounds like Twitter. People who are disruptive in movie theaters when people try to talk to you even though you are wearing headphones. Oatmeal raisin cookies masquerading as chocolate chip cookies. Let me say, my pet peeve is people that wear headphones at all times. So, shut up, Daniel. His hero is George Washington for being one of the few to ever resist power of that magnitude. Which passive survivor will you play the game most like? In order for me to win, I will need to lower my threat level from the get-go. The most natural way is to embrace my inner goofy like Fabio. And then, obviously, the winners I would model my game after are Yule and Todd. I mean, I like those players mentioned. So if he can actually emulate any of that, he has potential. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I truthfully think the odds are against me. It is all going to be a matter of threat management. I'm going to leave it all on the table. I will play my heart out because it will probably be the one shot I get. I've been waiting for years and I want no regrets. I can't promise you I will win, but I can promise you that I will have fun to make the most of this opportunity. Cancer survivors don't go anything less than full throttle. Oh, so he's a cancer survivor. Okay, well, I mean, I want to like him. I honestly feel like he's going to play hard, which can work out better or worse, but that can make for great television either way, so I hope he actually does. I'm worried, though, that he's not going to be able to survive without headphones in his ears, but we'll see. I'm kidding. Up next, Marianne Okett. She's the other Canadian. She is a seminary student. Her favorite hobbies are video games, reading, and snowboarding. I mean, I know Marianne from standing out the most in the preview at the end of season 41 for this season. I think she's going to have a big personality. Her pet peeve is when people don't listen to me, people who walk slowly in front of me, anything that disrupts my sleep, hypocrites, and people who don't apologize. Wow. Marianne might not be someone you want in a jury. What is something we would never know from looking at you? I'm a great listener. Just because I talk a lot, it does not mean I am not listening. So she talks a lot, but she's a great listener. Hopefully she's right about that. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? Davey. Davey was someone who had loyalty to many people, had a strong core alliance, and was social. Not only that, but he was able to find idols and win challenges and play idols correctly to further his game. Most of all, Davey had so much fun when he was on the island, no matter if he was on top or the bottom. David had the path to 6th place, and I will perfect it to 1st. Interesting. I like that answer. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I believe I will win Survivor because I'm a social person, and Survivor at its core is a numbers game. I have lived in diverse cities and also been in situations where I was the only black person, but in every situation I thrived, and Survivor is another place where my resilience and personality will shine. Also, I never go down without a fight. When all hope is lost, I will be searching for idols, talking to people, and convincing them that me to stay is best for everyone. Well, I'm getting the vibe from her that she's going to be a social threat for sure. I like her potential as a social threat. We just have to see how good of a listener she really is. Because if she talks a lot, it can be bad. Zach Wurtzenberger. He's 22. From Florida. Currently lives in St. Louis. He's a student. His favorite hobbies are social strategy games, sketch comedy writing, and running. So he seems like he's used to social strategy games. His pet peeve, people who don't tip. I used to deliver pizza, so it's a pretty big deal for me. My biggest one is when the bill is like $19.95 and the customer handed me a 20, smiling and said, "Keep the change." Wow. That is a pet peeve of mine too, because I waited tables long ago and I despise bad tippers. What is something you would never know from looking at you? I think a lot of people would assume because I'm young that I'm naive or I have no life experience. That couldn't be further from the truth. I am a hustler. He says more. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? Todd. He played a brilliant game in China, where he controlled every single vote from the shadows. We're in a period of Survivor now where the tallest tree is the first one cut. You need to build a resume, but you can't let anyone realize how extensive your resume is until it's too late. Exactly. Todd manages to keep his threat level low while subtly manipulating every facet of the game and revealed everything at Final Tribal Council. I'd also love to mix that with Jeremy's meat shield strategy so that I'm never the first one targeted if things go awry. He has a good strategy. I need to see him be able to play it out, of course, but I like the strategy. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I love all the core skills that you need to win the game. I'm an extremely personable and make friends easily. I'm super intelligent and strategic with a vast knowledge of the game. I'm athletic enough to not be a liability, but not enough to be a threat. And most importantly, I am willing to work harder than anyone to win. We'll see. I mean, honestly, of all the younger players, I feel like he has the most potential. But that's just my thoughts. Lastly is Dra Wheeler. She's from San Antonio. She lives in Montreal. She's a fitness consultant. Her favorite hobbies are working out. We got another workout freak. There's like 4 of them. Pet peeve are dishonest people. Well, you might be in the wrong game. What is the accomplishment you are most proud of? Becoming an All-American track runner. So she was an athlete growing up. What is something you would never know from looking at you? I have a fear of death. I come off as super confident and strong, which I am, but deep down I do fear the end. I think it stems from losing someone very important people in my life at a young age. However, this fear doesn't cripple me. It gives me the perspective to live every day to the fullest. You're not wrong. Her hero is her mother. Which past survivor will you play the game most like? Callie Wentworth. Such a basic answer. She contributes to her team and sets up alliances while still being a competitor in the competitions. But Callie never won. So why do you want to play like Callie? Women, I ask you all. Why do you believe you can be the sole survivor? I believe my personality, physical strength, and ability to manipulate people to do what I want to will help me get to the final. And I'm able to see where different personalities fit in my life and utilize them when it fits. Ooh, she's going to be a big threat, and I need to see how she's able to maneuver herself. She's giving me Sydney vibes from Brains versus Brawn versus Beauty. Well, Sydney did make the final 4, but that's a tough spot. Getting to getting to the final 4 in these games as the biggest threat is tough. Even though I don't know if Sydney was the biggest threat to win, but she might have been. So it'll be interesting to see Drea, I believe is her name, or how you pronounce it, to play. Honestly, reading these casts, this is the problem. Because this was the same situation for season 41. I read all up on the cast. Then I eventually saw the pregame interviews before the game began, and I enjoyed the cast a lot. And even watching, I tried to enjoy the cast a lot. But editing was so terrible that you couldn't enjoy the cast because the editing was all about twists, and we didn't really get enough from the cast to enjoy them. So reading these bios made me a little more excited for the season 42, but the editing needs to be way better for me to actually be able to enjoy the season. So I like the cast so far, but we'll see what the producers and the editing have for us. Anyway, that was my assessment. That was my literal first impressions. You got to see me just think about assess them in my head as I read along. So hope that worked as a video. First time trying it that way. I enjoyed it though. Anyway, I will talk about Survivor again, and probably not until late February, early March, before the season's getting closer. Hopefully we'll have a draft. I'm still trying to configure how I'm going to cover both Survivor and Big Brother Canada, but we'll see how it goes.